you? So we're going to talk a little bit about the tie-dye process and the workshops that we do. And this has been something we've been doing for about 2 years now. It's been kind of a lot of fun. So we really appreciate the opportunity to kind of tell you about it. So over the past 2 years, we've created hundreds of flags. It provides an opportunity for people to create their own flags. It gives them that ability to have something that's custom. It's not about the price, it's about the creativity. And some of the people have also made donations for flagging in the park and flagging in the desert. So this is one of our many community events that we do to try to really get kind of an interesting group of people to get together for both the flagging and then just the time to spend with each other as well. During COVID, we actually continued those workshops because they were outdoors, they were masked, we kind of did some distancing, and we limited our attendance. Typically, we were getting numbers between 6 and 10 or so people for a tie-dye workshop, and we were doing them on both a Saturday and a Sunday. But over the past year or so, we kind of pushed that back to about 6 people as a maximum, just so that we had enough space. And in some cases, we reduced it down to one day per month. The materials are all put together by David Gossman. So the silk, the dyes, and the miscellaneous other kind of stuff, he's put that all together and really kind of helped get that all in good shape. And then I'm providing the space. So we've got the space available and the tables and stuff like that. And then when someone has a flag that they really like, which are most of the time, the weights and the sewing is done by John Lopez. And so there's a small fee for the materials. And if you like what you get, then a small fee for the weighting. And that means that you can come up with a custom set of flags that's really all your own. David starts out with the simple folds, the airplane folds, and he's got a couple of really cute little samples, shows exactly how they're folded. And so you can see a couple of the ones that are done in the airplane fold. And also the other process where you might sort of grab it and pinch it and bunch it. Those are kind of the two primary ones that we have been stressing. And Paul's going to talk a bit about some alternate ways that we've been doing flagging dyes. We use the optic white so that if you decide to do something that does not have color, it will reflect very nicely in the black lights. But we also use the UV dyes, so they both look good in the daylight and they glow in the black light. Here's a picture of our little sample that we hang up so people can look at the various colors and see what is available. And they can pick and choose and say, I like this one, this red one, or that orange one, as the case may be. So we start off with the airplane fold. Very traditional. This is what most everybody does. You see a whole bunch of examples here of various people that have done a variety of airplane folds. And the general result of those airplane folds are various kinds of star type patterns or kind of radiating from the center patterns. Here's some examples of some of the ones that people have made. And you can see there's a whole variety and a lot of creativity that goes into those. So as people begin to see what's available, they try different things. The other way that we do it is also the kind of bunching process, where you sort of grab it and bunch it. And we use these little plastic ties. The neat thing about the plastic ties is that they're removable. So unlike using string or rubber bands that you cut off, these have like little clips where you can pull them and the plastic tie will come off. That makes it a little bit easier to wash them at the end. So we create some flags with various kinds of bunching techniques. And we've also had some people that have just simply laid the flag out and sort of done a painting. Now, this is not by any stretch of the imagination a Don Baker process. This is kind of a tie-dye process. So lay it out and just sort of draw it with your sloppy dyes and get something really interesting. I think the one on the upper corner there with the hearts is one that Amy did. So those are examples of some of the kinds. We also have started getting people into doing the accordion folds. This is where you actually take it and kind of pleat it and then put clamps on. I'm going to show you a little video here of how you might do the accordion fold. Let's see if I can get that to come up properly. Did that come up on the screen over there?
Yes.
Good. Okay, so let's do a quickie video here. of a typical way in which you might do the accordion folds. And this was done by Tim Schumacher. So he did the accordion fold, and here he puts the various kinds of, I think he was using string here, but it could be the actual plastic ties. And so you create this thing that kind of looks like a bow tie. And then he starts to go in and actually put the die in. And this is very much like you would do if you were doing the bunching, or if you were doing this kind of airplane fold. But now you're kind of making a slightly different approach to how you put the die in. People don't like to go for one color, so he adds different colors here and flips it over and adds some more. Now he starts to work inside the pleat a little bit. You're going to see how Paul does this in much greater detail in a few minutes. So he adds some other colors inside the pleats. You'll notice gloves on. Important. This stuff really can stain your hands. We're working on a table that's covered in plastic, and after you're done putting all the dies on, we then take that plastic and pull it up around the fabric, kind of wrapping it so that we can take it and put it into the microwave. The microwave is used to steam the set, and putting it inside the plastic makes it work really well. He had to get lots of different die in here. When he finally gets it the way he likes it, we'll wrap it in the plastic. And this was the result that he got after he rinsed it out and hung it up. So it's an example of the way that we can do these kinds of interesting tie-dye projects. Let's pop back to the slides here a minute. Whoops, let's get that. Okay, where are we? Here we go. Let's get back to that one. And Paul, take it over.
Thanks, Dave. Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me. So basically what I'm going to do this evening is present to you some patterns or techniques I use when it comes to tie-dyeing the silk flags. I was given my first set of flags for my birthday, and it came from the fabulous Don Baker collection. So shout out to Don Baker if he's here this evening. I always wondered how he made these beautiful flags. Fortunately, here in Palm Springs, Dave and David created these monthly tie-dye classes where we were able to make our own flags. But at that point, I was pretty hooked. I was very interested in the accordion fold and wanted to expand on that pattern. Throughout the months, I had the opportunity to put my thoughts onto the silk flags and create some unique, different flags I hope you will enjoy, or maybe even try my ideas out whether you have the opportunity to make your own flags. So here we go. Now, before every class, David would always tell us, now this is not rocket science. It's tie-dye. Have fun with it and let the results please yourself. No need to get too crazy, because in the end, you'll love what you created. So when I create my flags, most of my patterns I usually do, I start with the basic airplane fold. I always spray my silk with water because it helps keep the flags in place, it's easier to shape, and with the wind in Palm Springs, it helps keep it steady and solid ground there. So I'm going to, in this next clip here, I'm going to be using the basic star pattern, but I'm going to expand on it where you see me just keep the airplane folded, folding it over one more time, and then I drew a line for the star pattern. And what I did there, I started the accordion fold. And what you do with the accordion fold is I kept in the line of the line I drew. So as it folds up, you continue the pattern all the way to the very end, and make sure that the fold is all the way to the whole entire side of the flag. When that's finished, I bound it all up, and then I color it, which I'll explain in more detail in just a little bit. And for bounding it up, I use either zip ties or rubber bands or string. And then when they go to the microwave and they're rinsed, this was the final result that came out with it. A little different, just the basic star pattern, but that's, as you can see, the folding accordion pattern just helped give it a little more oomph, I guess you could say, or a little more pizzazz, or whatever you want to call it, or bling or something like that. So then another technique I tried out was a semicircle pattern. So I didn't have a compass or a plate with me, but luckily David happened to have a couple cans of paint in his garage. So I drew a semicircle on the, as you can see, I took the paint, drew a semicircle onto the flags, and once again I folded the accordion fold and I followed the line of the circle, and then I bounded it, painted it, and that was the result of that flag. As you can see, it almost looks like a kaleidoscope. So then I took that same process, but took it one step further and added a smaller can of paint onto the flag. And what that did is when I folded the first one, I bounded it up and then started the second fold, the second semicircle, and folded that as well and bounded that up. And when the colors came out, this was the final result with that. So you see the middle picture there is one line, one circle, and the one on the outer, the red and green ones, are from the smaller circle. Let's see. So this flag here, I just did a basic leaf pattern. I drew a leaf onto the silk, and I did the accordion fold, and then but the color and dyes, that's how it turned out there. Then this is just an idea or a picture of the flags I did with the leaf pattern and the ending results when it's all rubber band together. Now then, what I do with the coloring. So this is the coloring here. Now what I did is I took the basic rainbow pattern, the red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, and I colored them all on one side. Now to get what I call the DNA cell pattern, where what you do is when you flip it over, you make sure you don't color the whole flag on one side. You only do half the side. So when you flip it over, what you do is you switch. The red goes to the bottom, and you move all the colors up one. So yellow becomes first, orange second, green third, so on and so forth. And that helps with create this DNA pattern that I like to use. And so this is when I folded it, when I flipped it over, this right here shows you just how I started with the different colors on the back. What's very important here is, though, for me personally, what I like to do is I like to make sure that my whole flag is colored from head to toe. So you really want to get inside the grooves there. And make sure it's saturated enough so you can so there's no white there. That's why I use the rubber bands, because the rubber bands don't hold the silk tight enough so you won't have to worry about getting any white. If you want to keep a white line, but you can use a zip ties or a string, and that'll help you making a little line separating all the different colors. So that's the final product there. Now on the bottom here, where my right hand is, it's still white there. Now what I like to do there is either leave it white there, so that'll be on the outside, the corners of the flag, or what I like to do is just mix up all the colors I use and make it just one big little mosh pot there, so it adds a little pizzazz to the corners of the flag. This pattern here, I just tried something totally different there. I did an accordion fold on the flag, and then I just bunched up the ends of it just to see what would happen if I changed the colors on the very tips of them. So I chose a couple colors, and then I colored in all the tips. I believe you show the next slide, and the second slide after this, not this one, next one. That was the result of that one. I used all UV colors, so that with the black light, all those colors just shine out really, very brightly. Now with these flags, this is just one flag, but if you cut it when we send it off to John to sew, he cuts them down the middle to make them two flags. So that's where you get your set of flags. So when it comes to, there's so many different types of folding patterns and folding types, but the best thing about this is that you could be as creative as you want. Here, I just took the flag and I separated the two ends of them, so then there'd be two matching but separate colors I wanted to try out. and then this is what's here was where we created, we call them tips or tits. So the next slide here shows you that more. Let's see. So right here on the right, on my right, you're probably the screen there, you see that where I had, there's still some white showing there. That's when you just want to get more saturated with the ink, or if you want to leave it that way, it just adds a different color to the flags. And then another pattern I tried out once was the bunching pattern, which you see here from Miguel. How he bunched the silk and added some tips. And if you show the next slide, here's where I did the bunching here, and then every single different parts of the silk, I just bunched them up together with the rubber bands to add a little tip, to just try something different. And this was your final result. So basically, with these flags, it's basically just, have fun, bring out your personality on your silk, and just experience what happens at the very end. Because whatever you think you're going to happen, what's going to be created in your mind, is going to be almost entirely different on the flags, because the flags have a mind of their own. The tie-dye has a mind of their own. But every time you look at it, it's a better result than what you thought in your head.
So as we've been saying, we do these workshops every month. Thanks a lot to David Gospin as well for helping us out with that. We put our calendar up on our website, and if anybody is actually visiting and would like to be able to try to schedule in, we'd love to have you. So there's information out there on the website as well.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Paul. We have time for participant questions. If you would like to ask Dave or Paul or both of them your very special question, either use the Zoom raise hand feature or send me a chat message in Zoom and I will put you on the air. So this is your chance if you want to ask about tie-dye with some experts. Our first question tonight is from William Taylor Barros of San Francisco, California. William, go ahead.
Thanks. Thanks, Dan. Hey guys, thanks for this talk. Has been great. It's so nice to see how you do it down there. I'm really anxious to join the ranks, and hopefully one of these months I'll make it down and be part of your workshops. Paulie, I had a question for you about a set of flags that you made last year, I think, that I admire very much. They're probably my favorite flags that I've seen on Flagging Virtual Studio. They're the ones that are just black and white.
Oh,
I was just curious how you came up with that idea. I know just from doing the workshops that we have up here with Xavier, that working with black can be kind of intimidating because it does tend to spread. And
right.
Of course, the very first workshop I did with Xavier, he warned me against using black, so I didn't. And then the next workshop, I dove right in, and I've been using black ever since. But I've never seen just a black and white flag, and I was just wondering if you could tell us or tell me how you came up with that idea, and if there's a particular fold that you used for that, or if it was just kind of a lucky chance thing.
Sure. It was a combination of everything. I was also told never to use black, but I was a little rebel that day, and when I was back in my younger days, I loved the jigsaw puzzles. And one of the puzzles I did was a solid black puzzle with one lightning streak across the puzzle. It took me forever to make it, and I thought of that a concept, and I thought, how cool would that be as a flag? Of course, I didn't get one streak across the flag though, but I used a bunching pattern for that, and I was able just to create this flag that just turned out so much better than I ever thought it could. And it was a lot of fun to make. The end result was better than I ever thought it would be, and it's really cool with the black light, especially with the black light, because it just shows off the white parts so great. And so with one of the flags I showed you on tonight, I did the same. I used black, mostly black, but I used a green light as well. The what's the one called, David?
You're probably the one called radioactive.
Oh, radioactive. That's right. So I used those two colors instead of white. I used those two colors, and so hopefully I'll get the same result. Yeah, so basically it was just the luck of the draw in the black and white, but the concept was there, but the end result turned out so much better.
Awesome. Thanks.
No problem.
Thank you, William. If anybody else has questions, send me a note or raise your hand. I guess I wanted to ask Dave. Dave, this looks like it's so much work. What's the most challenging thing about arranging and doing these tie-dye events?
It's actually not as much work as you would think. We've done it so often now. We've got to the point where the setup is pretty quick. David brings everything in his car. I've got the tables. We actually put a good mix of music up, maybe a Michael Rackley mix that we can listen to while we're doing the tie-dye. And so we set everything up. It only takes a few minutes, and typically I think we can get everything set up in certainly 20 minutes or half an hour at the max. People come pretty much on time. That's always an interesting one. We always have a few people who are brand new and a few people who are like Paul that have done a bunch of these and can kind of show other people. There's a lot of sharing that happens where people will say, well, did you try this, or look at this, or watch how I do this. And so that's what really makes it kind of fun. And then we kind of get a little bit backed up getting them through the microwave, but generally speaking, that's pretty quick. And we hang them on the line to dry. And down here, you hang them on the line and about 20 seconds later, they're dry because things dry out really quickly. And people can typically make 2 flags and be done. We start at 9 and we're often done by 11 o'clock when people are doing 2 flags. So it's a pretty quick and easy process. We do have people who have come from various places and joined us when we can kind of get it scheduled properly. I do see a note there about flagging in the desert. We had talked a little bit about doing it, but we won't do it during the November one because that's also Palm Springs Pride. So there'll be way too many things going on. But when we consider doing something in the spring, one of our flagging in the desert in the spring, we might consider doing a tie-dye at the same time. That would be kind of fun if we can get people to do that. David has a comment I'm going to read for those of you not following the chat. He says, the process of actual dyeing has become so streamlined. We're able to get the flags done. Everyone works together, and that helps with the creativity. Absolutely. It's been so much fun.
That's very
Good
true.
questions?
Our next question is from Fiona Davidson in San Francisco, actually Menlo Park, California. And next up is going to be Mark Ludwig.
Hey, Dave. Hey, Polly.
Hello.
Great presentation. So I have a question so far as what can you explain why you microwave the flags after you pour the paint and stuff? And
Sure.
how long do you do that process for?
We've actually played with that a little bit to get the timing just right, but the dyes that we're using are from Dharma, and it's the same place that we get the silk. And the dyes are specifically designed to work with natural fiber like the silk, and they are set with steam. So what happens is there's a mixture, the dye is mixed in with water and so forth. So after you've put all this liquid onto the silk, we wrap it in plastic, we put it in a little kind of Tupperware thing and put it in the microwave, and that steams it. And so what you're really doing is you're steaming the dye and causing it to set. Typically, with my particular microwave, which is a pretty strong one, we do it for about 4 minutes.
Wow.
So it's not long. We take them out and wait for it to cool down so you don't burn yourself, and then rinse it in cold water until all of the excess dye comes out. We do find that some of the dyes, like the red dye, will bleed out more. And some people who are, putting lots and lots of dye on to be sure that it's really well soaked. Yeah, Paul's raising his hand. Yes. That will cause, it doesn't all set, and therefore the loose non-set dye will wash out, and then we hang it on the line and it should be fine from there. So that's the process we use. And it's really quick. It happens pretty quickly. So
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Fiona. Next up, we have Mark Ludwig from sultry Honolulu, Hawaii. Mark, go ahead.
Hey, everybody. Really great seeing your experimentation and exploration with the different patterns. And that's kind of what I find too, like just try something different and just amazed at what comes out. I was just curious about what dyes you guys use.
As David is mentioning over in the chat window as well, the dyes are from Dharma. They are designed specifically for the silk. They come as a powder, and David will mix those up. We use the little squeeze bottles that you saw in the pictures. He mixes them not every single session, but he kind of watches it to not make them too much in advance. Sometimes he warms them a little bit before the actual workshop so that when you shake them, we're sure that they're well dissolved. And they are designed very specifically for working with that silk, and everything comes from Dharma, so it works really, really well. Did that answer the question, or do you need more, Mark?
It was a bit rhetorical. I just wanted to share, that information with other people that are on the line.
You know what else we've done is we've created a list of like all the materials that you think you need to do this. I don't think we've included the tables and the chairs, but we've got a list of that. And if somebody is interested, we've already given that to a couple of people at various places who are asking about how they can do a workshop. So if you're interested in that, we can send you an email that's got a list of here are all the things you need in order to make this happen. It's obviously something where you really need a group of people, because if you're going to buy all these supplies, you don't want to make one flag. So if you can get a group together, this is a great way to create a group event.
Thank you, Mark. Again, we have time for a few more questions. Please send me a note or raise your hand if you have questions for our guests. When are you going to get this chance again, after all? Paul, I had a question. I'm fascinated by the paint cans. Can you give us an insight on your process? I mean, they say a necessity is the mother of invention, and I'm just wondering, kind of give us a little insight on your improvisation there.
Well, but when I came to that class that day, I had basically no idea what I wanted to try, but I knew I wanted to try something different. And so I was looking around, and I thought about maybe doing a circle, because on some of the videos you watch online, they type about making a compass or maybe drawing a string and stuff, but I didn't have any of that with me. So I just went looking around, and I went to David's garage and happened to find these cans of paint. And luckily, those cans of paint were just the right size that they fit perfectly onto the flag. And that's the whole thought process there.
So what Paul does is he puts the can on and then uses a pencil very lightly to draw that circle on the silk. A quick reminder, a lead pencil works fairly well. We need to be careful not to mark. We've tried a couple of different kinds of pencils and found that sometimes they don't wash out. So a light lead pencil seems to work well. And then he does the little accordion pleat by following the line of the circle, just like he did on the straight one, but he does it on the curve. That requires some interesting talent that he's very good at.
It's a process, and but it's a very zen though.
Thank you. Our next question is from the tall and charming Benedict Leslie of Sydney, New South Wales, Australia. And after that, Joe from South Jersey is going to be up. Go ahead, Benedict.
The radioactive. Paul, you used the radioactive and you liked it. I
didn't say I liked it. That's a
okay.
That color is very challenging.
Yes, I end up with like dirty peas.
It does do that,
like,
but the end result though can be so brilliant though, because that color is so cool. But the tie-dye companies are still, I guess, maybe still working on a better product, I guess you could say, because sometimes you get those little, looks like sand coming out.
Okay, yeah, all right.
So you got that situation too?
I've only sampled it, and I've never liked how any of the samples turn out, and I wasn't game to ruin a set of flags with this
Yeah,
dupe
but
color.
that's one thing about tie dyeing is that you just once you start the color, you just got to go with it. And so that's that's what I did. I was very happy with the results, but you still, like I said, once in a while, the radioactive is a newer color than they've had before, and so it's a work in progress for them. But I still, when the light hits it, the black light hits it, it turned out so cool and it's such a great color.
All right, okay.
That if you're spinning
All
it
right,
fast enough, if you're spinning it fast enough, they'll never see the grains of sand.
Okay,
Thank you, Benedict.
thanks.
Our next question is from Joe from South Jersey. Did you want to ask your question yourself, Joe? Maybe he's unable to ask. I will ask for him, and you can just leap in if you want to, Joe. He says, how do you add the weights to the finished flags? Hand sew, or is there a special foot one can use on a machine?
We have about, I would say, most of the flags we send over to John Lopez, who does them, and you heard him last week talking about sewing. I've done some as well. I do them on the machine using a zigzag. After you learn the process, it's not all that difficult. But the learning process of kind of figuring out how to do the zigzag across the weights can be a little challenging to start. But it is a zigzag process where you basically wrap the flag material around the weight and then zigzag it into place. There is a description on how to do that that's available that I think Xavier's the one who put that up online. If you want some information, we can send you that link. I don't use that exact process. I think each person, just like when you do your tie dye, you find a sewing process that works for you. And after I've learned by breaking enough needles, I finally got it to the point where I can do a bunch of flags without breaking needles. So I think I've got my process working. Does that answer the question for you?
I'm going to assume yes. I think he's not able to speak live. He says, thanks for the info. Thank you, Joe. A little comment I will interject here is that he asked about sewing foots. There's something called a pin tuck foot that has grooves on the bottom that can help a little bit. It's by no means a must for sewing. You can sew flags without it. And
I've used a hemming foot for part of it too, and that helps a little bit. It's mostly a matter of being bold and careful.
Oh, this one. So here's I found my flag, the black and white flags.
Awesome.
I've loved seeing the pictures on Facebook of the event, so it was great to hear you guys talk more about it.
Thank you. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you again, Dave. Thank you again, Paul. I can tell you put a lot of work into that. We really appreciate it. It was really excellent.